I'll be surrounded by sunflowers on my wedding day. The words on the screen hit me like a punch to the gut. Sunflowers, hundreds of them. The email confirmed that the flowers were ready to adorn every corner of our wedding venue, splashing the space in cheerful yellow. But for me, this wasn't a warm display of sunshine. It was a disaster waiting to happen. I have a severe sunflower allergy, the kind that could trigger hives and leave me gasping for air. Michael knew. His mother knew. So, why was this happening? Michael and I had been together for nearly 4 years, building a life that was natural, supportive, and full of joy. We'd shared laughter and challenges, celebrated each other's accomplishments, and gradually made plans for a future together. Michael was my rock, a kind, loyal partner who seemed to have an endless well of patience and empathy. I couldn't imagine my life without him. When we met, I hadn't known much about his background. Michael was humble, and he didn't advertise the fact that his family ran one of the city's most successful event management companies, a business that had grown under the careful watch of his grandparents and was now poised to pass into Michael's hands. His family's wealth wasn't something that impressed me. It was simply a part of who he was. My own background was modest. I'd been raised by hard-working parents who instilled in me the importance of self-reliance and honesty. I'd been on my own since 18, determined to make my way in the world. Michael's family welcomed me with open arms, and his father, his siblings, even distant relatives seemed genuinely happy to have me in Michael's life. But there was one exception: Michael's mother. She was a forceful woman, commanding and elegant, with a critical eye and high standards. I could feel her scrutiny from the very first time we met, and her silent judgment left me feeling unsettled. Despite my best efforts, I couldn't seem to win her approval. No matter how hard I tried to dress or speak or act in ways that might impress her, I felt like I was always falling short. At first, I tried not to let it bother me. I convinced myself that I could win her over if I just continued to be kind and respectful. I wanted her to see me for who I was, to understand that I truly loved her son. I'd bring flowers to family gatherings, volunteer to help her with dinner, and try to show genuine interest in her life and in the family business. Eventually, I confided in Michael, hoping he might be able to help me understand. "Mom has this specific idea of who she thinks I should marry," he said gently, "and she's been holding on to that image for years. If someone doesn't fit that image, it's hard for her to accept." I sighed, feeling a pang of hurt. I was deeply in love with Michael, but the prospect of marrying into a family where the matriarch looked down on me was daunting. Still, I decided to keep trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. Despite the challenges with his mother, Michael and I were thrilled to get engaged. He proposed on a beautiful autumn evening, the air crisp and filled with the scent of pine. We had both been waiting for this moment, and as he slipped the ring onto my finger, I felt a surge of happiness and hope. Maybe, I thought, this could be a new beginning for all of us. That evening, after Michael proposed, his mother approached me with an unexpected apology. Her face softened as she spoke, and for the first time, I saw something in her other than scrutiny. She admitted that she had been quick to judge, that she hadn't given me a fair chance. Her tone was sincere, and she even asked if I'd allow her to help with the wedding planning. I felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. Part of me was wary. Her apology seemed almost too good to be true, but I decided to accept it. Maybe, I told myself, she genuinely wanted a fresh start. After all, Michael and I were beginning a new chapter of our lives. Why not give her the chance to be part of it? For a few weeks, things seemed different. Michael's mother became warmer, more interested in my background and opinions. She asked about my family, my favorite foods, even my childhood memories. She seemed eager to be involved in our wedding, and I began to believe that maybe we could finally build a bond. But as we dove into wedding planning, her influence grew more forceful. Michael and I had envisioned a small, intimate ceremony, a day that reflected our personalities and love for each other. We wanted a simple celebration, surrounded by our closest friends and family. But his mother had other ideas. She wanted an extravagant affair, a grand event that would showcase their family's legacy. She dismissed our vision as too ordinary and began suggesting elaborate themes, towering floral arrangements, and a guest list that included nearly the entire city. Michael and I tried to stand our ground, insisting on a smaller gathering, but his mother continued to push. Each suggestion we made was met with gentle but firm resistance, and it became clear that she wasn't interested in compromise. She was determined to have a wedding worthy of her son, regardless of what we wanted. The tension between Michael and his mother began to build, spilling into our lives in ways that I hadn't anticipated. I could see the frustration in his eyes each time he confronted her, trying to explain our vision, only to be met with indifference. A wedding should be a big celebration, a once-in-a-lifetime event, she insisted. To keep the peace, we eventually compromised. We agreed to let her handle one part of the wedding, the floral arrangements. It seemed like a safe choice. She had a passion for floral design, and we hoped that by giving her this responsibility, she might feel more involved without taking over. Then, just a few days later, I received an email from the florist. The arrangements had been finalized, and the flowers were set to arrive the morning of our wedding. But as I scanned through the order, a chill ran down my spine. Sunflowers, hundreds of them. Sunflowers weren't just a flower I disliked. They were dangerous to me. Exposure to sunflower pollen could trigger a severe allergic reaction, leaving me with hives and difficulty breathing. My heart began to pound as I realized the gravity of what this could mean to. I immediately called the florist, hoping it was a mistake. But they confirmed that Michael's mother had placed the order herself. She'd chosen the sunflowers, confirmed the quantity, and given explicit instructions on where to place them. There was no mistaking it. This was intentional. When I showed Michael the email, he was speechless. I could see the anger rising in him, a mixture of disbelief and betrayal. Without hesitation, he stormed out of the room and called his mother, demanding an explanation. The conversation that followed was explosive. I could hear his voice through the walls, sharp and filled with rage, as he questioned how she could do something so reckless, something that could endanger my health on our wedding day. But his mother dismissed it as an oversight, claiming she hadn't realized it would be a problem. She insisted that it was simply a misunderstanding, that she had only wanted to create something special. But Michael and I both knew it wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't an oversight. It was a calculated decision, one that could have ruined our wedding day and jeopardized my safety. Since that confrontation, Michael barely spoke to his mother. Though they saw each other at work, their relationship was strained, and every interaction was laced with tension. I felt a strange mixture of relief and guilt, torn between gratitude for Michael's support and the uncomfortable reality that I'd driven a wedge into his family. Michael's father tried to intervene, pleading with me to speak to Michael, to convince him to make amends. He insisted that his wife had simply made a mistake, that she'd forgotten about my allergy in the excitement of planning. But I couldn't bring myself to believe that. I couldn't ask Michael to forgive someone who had knowingly endangered my health. It wasn't my place to fix their relationship, especially when I was the one who'd been hurt. For weeks, Michael's father persisted, calling me, asking me to talk to his son, and trying to ease the tension. But my answer remained the same. I couldn't ask Michael to forgive someone who had knowingly endangered my health. Nearly a month later, Michael's mother showed up at our door. She looked exhausted, as though the strain of the past few weeks had finally worn her down. I was tempted to turn her away, but something in her face stopped me. I invited her in, and we sat in tense silence until Michael joined us. She apologized for everything, admitting that she had acted out of jealousy and fear. She acknowledged that she had hurt me and that her actions had been wrong. For the first time, she seemed vulnerable, stripped of the arrogance and control that had always defined her. Michael and I listened in silence. When she finished, he told her he needed time to decide if he could forgive her. In the end, we decided to move forward with our plans. We wanted a simple, intimate wedding, the kind we'd originally envisioned. The day was beautiful, filled with love and laughter. Michael's mother was there, standing quietly at the back, her eyes filled with a quiet sadness and, perhaps, understanding. Over time, we began to heal. Michael's mother respected our boundaries, and slowly, we began to rebuild our relationship. The memory of the sunflowers faded, replaced by memories of a beautiful wedding day and the promise of a life built on trust and love.